The content of this recording is copyrighted by Sandler Systems, LLC. All rights reserved. This is the Building Blocks of Success with Glenn Mattson.
Building blocks of success. The new theme we're going to have for this upcoming episode is going to be the success triangle. Now look, when we look at success, it's usually described as regarding accomplishments, right? Things that we do that we have great outcomes on. Things like winning a new account, bringing in new sales, personal goals that we have. So when we look at our accomplishments, they're all signs of success for sure. But what do you think makes those accomplishments consistently possible? When we look at success, success is the convergence of three core elements. It's attitude, what goes on between your head, your heart, and your gut. It's your behavior. What are you supposed to be doing, when, how, and with whom? And then with your tactics. What's your strategy and your tactics to make sure that you can utilize your techniques? So when we look at the success triangle, and the reason we're going to take this route is, unfortunately, most training programs or most development programs out there will really focus in on one of those three. Maybe you're going to be learning a technique on how to prospect. Maybe you're going to be learning some techniques on how to increase your attention on LinkedIn. Maybe you're looking at ways to qualify. You want to shorten up your sales cycle, get in front of more of the right people. How do you have the right type of conversation so you're not getting killed on price and being arm handled on negotiating? Or maybe you're sitting there struggling with, hey, I have a great concept. I'm very good when I'm in front of people. I'm just not in front of enough of the right people or in front of enough people. So you're trying to figure out what's your plan. Maybe you're trying to figure out what you have to do on a daily basis to achieve the results that you're looking for. What's the structure that you have to have? What are the benchmarks that you have to hit? What about the other side? The other side is the attitude. Do you have the right mindset to do the behaviors that you're supposed to be doing? Do you have a behavioral plan in place and you have the techniques, but you're not doing it? That's an attitudinal gap. So attitude is in the head and the heart and the gut. And behavior is your plan. And then your technique is your tactics and strategies to fulfill your objectives. So we have to have congruency with all three of these to make sure that we can have consistent success. Yet when we look at different types of programs, as I mentioned, it's always interesting that you have one program will help you fill your calendar. Another program is going to help you overcome fear of rejection. Another program is going to help you with managing your time. Another program is going to help you with procrastination. And I find that when you have all these different programs talking different languages and different processes, it becomes very difficult for many people to merge those together inside of your own noodle so that you can have a process to be successful consistently. So in our journey for this next theme is how do we have congruency, one language, one process to really help you be consistent? And that's the whole part of the success triangle, is people are looking for solutions to specific areas without looking at the overall factor. What we're looking for is congruency and consistency. If we have consistency that's predictable, then we have growth. And when we have that, we have scalability. So we're looking for consistency to create predictability, to create scale. So we have to make sure that we are living what we call the success triangle. Success is in the middle. And again, like I said, you have a three-legged stool, which is a triangle. The top is attitude, the bottom left is behavior, and then the bottom right is technique. We're going to be spending our time together taking a look at what type of techniques do you need to know and own to achieve your objectives with regards to your sales and your business. We're also going to be taking a look at the behaviors, the things that you need to be doing consistently with the right people at the right time to make sure that you're filling your calendar in your pipeline with the right type of business. Then we have to look at attitudes. Attitudes are the things that are about yourself, your company, your marketplace, and how do we make sure that we can achieve our sales success? Learning how to talk with a certain type of demographic, putting it down in your calendar, but having a fear of rejection means that you're going to procrastinate and not get it done. So we really have to have congruency of all three. Now, the success triangle I have found in 30 years of doing this is probably the best filter I have noticed to help in two different key areas. The first is really identifying what's causing some roadblocks that you have. The other is helping you identify how to put together a solution. Let me tell you what I mean. Maybe you're the type of individual that has the right type of attitude. You're a go-getter, you're committed, You're okay with hitting roadblocks and dealing with setbacks and etc. High resiliency, big courage, lots of discipline. You're really good with some of your techniques. But the problem is your behavior is not consistent. Your behavior, because it's not consistent, your pipeline is not consistent. Therefore, a lot of times your cash flow is not consistent. So what happens is that if you have great attitudes and good techniques, you're working frantically and sporadically. An awful lot of people in today's world are looking to how to have more consistent behavior. So we're going to talk about the importance of behavior. What about the other side? What happens if you are doing your behavior and you are actually really good from your techniques, but your attitude's not in line? That means maybe your desire's not there anymore. Maybe your risk-taking has got lower. Maybe you've lost your mojo as of late. Maybe you're sitting there contemplating how hard and do I really want to put the energy and effort into this? Maybe you're already successful and you've reached a level of success and you're looking around saying, my God, I'm doing better than most of my friends and doing better than I thought I was going to be doing. And as you start to say that, you slow down yourself. Maybe you just hit a really big month or a big quarter and you find yourself not having the same amount of passion to do the consistent behavior that you're supposed to be doing. So your attitude is that you have nice behavior, good technique, but your attitude's not in the right spot for many different reasons. Maybe it's rejection, maybe you lost an account, maybe your territory got changed. But unfortunately, now what happens is you're going through the motions. You're showing up, going to work, you're going home. You lost your mojo. What about the other side? Maybe you do have good attitude. Maybe you are the person that is resilient and can take distress and can take failure and has a high level of commitment. And you have a behavior, and you have a behavioral plan, and you have your prospecting plan, and you're working it. But the problem is your techniques aren't that good, or your techniques aren't achieving the results that you're hoping for. Well, those are the individuals that feel like they're out digging 6,000 holes out in their front yard waiting to see what happens. So when you have good attitude and good behavior and poor technique, you're working your butt off. So when we don't have congruency, right? Your behavior's off, you're working frantically and sporadically. When your attitude is off, you're going through the motions at best. When your technique's off, you're working way harder than you need to be. So we want to take a look at is the congruency between these three. If you have the technique, but you don't have the behavior, then we have an issue. Most people will look for technique as the solution to how to solve things. How do I do this? How do I do that? What's the best way to say this? Although of the three, your technique, believe it or not, is the easiest to learn. It's the easiest to get good at. But that's the stuff that everyone wants to know. How to. But is it always just our technique? Or is it also our behavior? Which is maybe you're struggling with how to, but you also don't know what the plan is to get to where your brain is and what you want to actually have it sitting in front of you. How do we go from visualization to reality? How do I go from what I want in my life to what I have in my life? And that's a behavioral plan. You're looking at that saying, okay, I think I have that in place, but the problem is the engine's not running it, and that's your head, heart, and gut. So you may have the desire to be successful, but maybe your bravery is not high enough for you to do the uncomfortable things that you need to do. So attitudinally, you're saying that you're in the game, but your behavior dictates that you're not in the game. So you're saying all the right stuff, but you're not doing the right stuff. So we have to make sure that all these are fitting together. And then if we're not doing the right stuff, we also have to make sure that we have the right attitude so that we're not making excuses on what's not happening. We have to own everything that we do, which we're going to talk about. So take this journey with me as we start to go through the success triangle. And remember, in the middle of this triangle is the word success. And that is whatever you deem to be important for you. Those are your objectives. Now, I want to be clear about something. Goals and objectives are very different than dreams. A dream is something that you would like to have. A goal or an objective is something you're going to have. There's a very significant difference. So when we get into this process, we're going to be talking about hammer and nails. We're going to be talking about tried and true processes, not theories, not pie in the sky. This is stuff that's going to have a capacity you can put into place that can work to help separate your head from your heart, from your gut, to connect that to your behavior, to make sure that you're consistently utilizing your techniques, helping you put together a true process to help you grow in your building blocks of success. I can't tell you how many people I sit down with that are great at technique, but they're doing zero behavior. And more times than not, they want to work on more technique. Well, if you're not having the right type of behavior, I can tell you right now, 90% of the time, it's because your attitude's not in the right spot. So look at the success triangle. Do you have an attitudinal issues? Do you have some behavioral issues? Or do you have some technique issues? Look at it from a standpoint if you have staff, regardless of what they do for you. Is their attitude in conjunction with their behavior and aligned with their technique to achieve the success that you need based on that role? So the congruency of the success triangle is vital. As we take this journey together, we're going to peel back each of these areas as we go deeper and deeper in our conversations. We'll have a conversation about the attitude. We'll have the conversation about the why, and that's your attitude. The why is what drives you to become who you want to become, to overcome the anxieties, the fears, and the trials and tribulations that you have to get to where you want to be. Because we got to understand, man, if you have good goals and goals that you want to achieve, they aren't going to be easy. They're going to be hard work. You're going to have put some time and energy into this. You're going to have some setbacks. You're going to have some failures. You're going to have to maybe even change some of the beliefs that you have that are holding you back from being successful. So you got to really look at the mirror when we start talking about the attitude and the why. We're also going to be digging deep into the behavior, which is really managing the what. And that's everything from what your goals are to your plan, right down to your daily behaviors, the number of dials you need to have, what you need to be doing to fill your calendar, to the number of sales you need to have, to understand what you need to be doing on a quarterly basis to achieve what you need to achieve on a sales side. Now, obviously, the behavioral pieces that we're going to be talking about is how to build and plan out anything. But for our conversations, it's going to be about building and planning out a process to generate revenue to achieve your objectives. I also want to take a look at, again, is the technique. And that's really the science. So when we look at technique, I always find it interesting that people, again, always want to look at the how-tos. But within technique, we have to stare at strategy. Strategy is just as important, if not more important, than your tactics. Your tactics may be great, but potentially your strategy is off, and that's not a good recipe for success. So let's take this journey together as we start to peel back the onion on each of these areas of the success triangle, so we can take a look at what they are, maybe where you are within each of these areas of the triangle, and hopefully giving you some tips on what you can do to get to the next level of the triangle. So join me as we move on towards the success triangle output.
This is the Building Blocks of Success with Glenn Mattson.